everybody.
Hello.
I'm Anne Stokes, and this is my partner, John Woodward.
Hello, hello.
And we are going to tell you all now about our new project of elemental magic.
Yes.
So on your sheets, it's two sides. If you start on the side that's got a picture of us, then we're going to be looking at those images first.
Yeah.
So I thought we'd just start by telling you perhaps the definition of elemental magic and elementals and how we came up with this.
Right.
So do you want to start, John, with...
Well, yeah, it's a pet project really of Anne's, because of course elemental magic evolved into what we know as a periodic table, but in the pagan times, old times, it was a form of magic because of course there were these four elements which were known as air, fire, water and earth, and that's, well, there is a fifth which is spirit, but they sort of believed in the power of those four elements for controlling.
Yes, absolutely.
The matter.
I think it was perhaps it started off, the ancient Greeks decided that all matter was broken into these elements.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they didn't have the sophisticated technology that we have now with the periodic table to know about all these different chemical compounds.
Yes, and what they really.
But they did start the principle that all matter was made from these
From
elements.
those elements.
And obviously that progressed on then in the 16th century and then in the 20th century when the atom was discovered. But really, although there are a lot of myths around it.
Yeah, we're looking at the
is
magical elements
absolutely
of that.
And then there were many myths and legends.
Yes, because they associated the four elements to gnomes,
Yep. So
Earth.
different fantasy creatures.
and undines, which were part of the water, as well as sylphs of the air, and salamanders for fire. So that's why the salamander is associated with. And there is a fire salamander, which apparently can give a nasty bite. But yeah, these, as I say, these related to the elements. But for Anne's art.
So I wanted to create a series of elemental magic user artworks, and I also looked at the history that these elements were often shown on a compass. And as we see on the chart here, so earth is to the north, and air is to the east, fire to the south, and water to the west. Now, perhaps in my artwork, in prior times, I have not painted a lot of different ethnicities of characters. And this has really come about because a lot of my pictures are based on Northern European medieval legends, and obviously they are mainly people with fair skin. But I thought it would be really nice to include, you know, people from all cultures. That's something that's interesting and quite right, obviously, that different cultures have been illustrated.
Yes, a representation.
So I tied that in with the earth creatures, are fair-skinned and probably, you know, from the north of the world, from Europe. And then the air is from the east, so they're Oriental Asian-looking characters. And then fire to the south, well, we've got really that's located in Africa in my little genre here, and they're dark-skinned from Africa and Egypt. And then to the west, we're in the middle of the Atlantic there on the map.
Yes.
So we've got the merfolk, and of course that is water. So we tied that in then with the legend that John was just speaking about, that these different elementals are creatures. They're not
Yes.
just humans.
Yeah.
Part of their magic is that they are half human and half something.
Yes, that's a nice representation rather than doing as monsters. Really.
Yes, absolutely. So in this illustration at the bottom of the page here, you've got the female elementals, and so we start from the left. This is a mermaid, and she is rising up out of the water and summoning the waves, and she's got flying fish dancing around her. And the male version of that is like a merman, isn't he, with a
traditional trident.
Yes. And he's under the water summoning a portal. So next we have the Earth Lady, and she is a centaur, and she's rising up, again summoning the power out of the earth, as it
And
swirls
this is
around
basing
her.
around the Greek sort of element, isn't it? The
Yes,
Greek myth of the
absolutely.
centaurs
And her male counterpart was actually based on a reference photo that I took on John, and it does look a little bit like John. If you go and look at the print over there later, I'm sure you'll spot it.
We won't be showing that photograph.
Well, I always find reference photos that are really helpful, you know, to get the pose. And all that, obviously. You make a very fine.
Thank you, dear.
So the next one is Air, and we have Air from the Orient. So she is an angel, and she is flying through the sky with her air dragons on either side of her, and she has a wand in her hand. And we will be touching on this subject of the wand shortly. John's work on that. So then on the right, we have the Fire Lady. So she has got quite a few Egyptian motifs. You perhaps can't see on this illustration, they're quite small, but she's got a winged scarab around her neck, and she has an ankh on her sash and an oberus pendant hanging from her belt. And she is summoning the power of the fire. And her male counterpart, he's got a bonfire, isn't he?
Yes.
Fire is swirling around him. So
Would you say she's a demon, or
she is half demon, isn't she?
Yes.
So she has got she probably looks the most human of all of them.
Yes.
Not like with a big mermaid tail or whatever, but her horns pick her out as demonic, which again kind of fits with the fire element.
Yes.
So let us turn over our sheet. And we're moving on to the wonderful elemental wands that John has been making. So John, I'll hand over to you to tell everybody about these.
Thank you. Well, these started off obviously as illustrations by Anne, and in the case of the fire wand, it was used as the ace of wands in her deck of cards. We thought it would be really nice to bring this part of the artifacts range. Now, what the artifacts range is where we've taken elements that are within Anne's artwork and made them into objects.
Yeah, into real life
so
objects.
Like the diadem
Yeah,
and the other things that
Yes.
you've seen over there. And I thought it was a good challenge to try and sculpt these and make them. And so that became the counterpart of that.
Absolutely. And this is, look, John, he brings these to life in such exquisite detail. I mean, my sketch was pretty rough, but really what he's done with it is so perfect. It's just so lovely to hold. It's just the right weight.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have the little fire, this one has the fire symbol
fire
on
symbol.
the back, doesn't it? So this is the fire wand. Shall we read, would you want to read out in the leaflet here?
Sure.
This is called Infernals.
So we say here that dragons and the element of fire have long been associated together. In magic, many beasts and creatures can be aligned to the power of a wand, and it takes great skill and expertise to wield it, both safely and wisely. And this particular fire channeling wand may be found illustrating the Ace of Wands in the tarot deck. And this wand allows the energy and inner fire of the wielder to produce a mightily and meaningful magic. Whatever the fire in your heart desires can be focused and summoned. And the red gem on the dragon's forehead is a flame crystal, drawing its power from the element fire as well as the spirit of the dragon. Now in this one we actually use real Swarovski crystals.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And that just gives that extra element of magic.
It absolutely does. And this is like a wood effect, isn't it? So
Yeah.
this one is
So
made
this one,
with-
when we started, we wanted to be the wood effect because it almost countered to the fact that it's a fire. But of course, being a magic wand, it can
Channel
it's made of
fire
fire,
in the
it
wood.
can resist fire.
Brilliant.
So then we moved on to, which is the recent one. Now this is going to be a series of 4, obviously. And this is the one that the angel of the...
Yeah, so this is the air wand, and
So-
to fit with her is oriental in style.
And there's the air symbol there. And again, this was based on Anne's illustration that was there. And of course, again, it's a beautiful one just to hold.
It's absolutely perfect. It's got your little, it's got the air symbol embossed in it, hasn't it? Like
Yep,
this one, the fire
there it
symbol,
is.
and this one has a crystal ball.
And again, this is
In its
Swarovski
mouth.
crystal. And then the trick is, how do I get that in there? Well, that's a little trick. That is a little bit of magic.
John hand sculpts all these, and he makes them after, and then he makes molds and hand casts these in our workshop in Yorkshire. So they are.
So if anybody's been following the forum, then there's been either forum or my page. It's taken a long while because, of course, all these scales are sculpted in wax. Well, if I'd sculpted the thing in wax and then put my finger there, I'd have squashed it. So I had to use a material called Fimo, which some of you may know is you sculpt a little bit, you put it in the oven, you bake it, and then you sculpt a bit more, and a bit more, and a bit more, which is why it took a long time.
This has been baked in our kitchen oven.
Yeah.
On numerous occasions.
Why is the oven on?
Oh my God, he's doing a wand again.
The dragon's in there.
So, no, it's
but that helped
beautiful.
me to create the detail, and please do come up and have a look at them later up close.
So then we have the description of this. I think we should read this one out.
Now
too.
this one, this one, as we say, because it's fire, is Infernos.
Yeah.
And this one we've entitled Orochi.
That is such a good word, Orochi.
Orochi.
John is brilliant with picking words, and well, you read it out.
Well,
tell them how
actually,
we
yes.
came about this word.
Well, so dragons of the Orient differ from European species as they lack wings, and instead of using flight, which is with the wings, they use their magical powers to swoosh through the air. And the Orochi one channels the power of the air through a twisting carved dragon which clutches a crystal ball in its mouth, which focuses the magic. Now, Orochi literally means downwind. No laughing.
So this is a Japanese word, isn't it?
It is the Japanese term for a wind blowing strong down the slope of a mountain. Occasionally, a strong gust of winds that can cause damage. So imagine that coming down there. So air may be an invisible gaseous substance, but it surrounds the earth, and with every breath we take, it gives life. And only a skilled and powerful magic user can control the wind direction and harness the power of the air. Breathe! This one's...
Well, yeah, John's just got to practice a bit more, but yeah.
Needs new batteries, I think.
So these are the first two. This is fire and air, and there is going to be a water wand and an earth wand.
Yes.
Hopefully by next festival.
Here's the water wand.
No, well, I'm really looking forward to seeing those ones. I think they're going to be fabulous. And we are also working on a book about elemental magic.
We are.
And so another thing that we have discovered now, you might like to look at this chart on the bottom left. Now, interestingly, each of the star signs is aligned to a different one of these elements. And it's not necessarily perhaps how you might think. Like, for example, I am an Aquarius. And I've always thought that was a water sign because it's usually depicted as somebody with a bowl of water, isn't it, basically?
Water, yes.
It's not a water sign, it's an air sign. So I don't know, it might be interesting to look up your star signs on this chart here. So you see, there we are, air is Libra, Aquarius and Gemini. Sagittarius and Leo and Aries are fire. Pisces, Scorpio and Cancer are water. And then, John, you're an Earth, aren't you?
I am an
Taurus,
Earth.
Virgo and Capricorn.
Now, I'm a Taurus, but I'm also in the Chinese symbol of bull, which makes me a really Earth symbol, and it means that you stick your feet in the mud and you're really obstinate, you can't be bothered. So,
Okay.
yes.
Well, that figures, yeah. He's a pretty stubborn man, yeah. In a good way,
So
in a good way.
It does
No, absolutely.
represent, it does.
Well, it's
yeah.
interesting, isn't it, how all this mythology has grown up and is intertwined with these different things.
Yeah, I think, if you all look at that symbol and find your own, and see if there's something of that
Yeah.
element within yourselves.
See if you feel fiery or
Yeah.
watery or whatever. And then our last illustration on the bottom right is one from the extra card in the Dragon Tarot. And this makes the point that all the tarot cards are aligned to the elements. So the cup cards are aligned to water, the swords are aligned to air, the wands are aligned to fire, and the pentacles or coins, depending on how they're illustrated, are aligned to the earth. And the major arcana, then, they all have different alignments. I'm sorry, I can't remember all them. But some of them are just aligned to one, and some of them are aligned to two, aren't they? And I think the world card, or anyway, one of the cards is aligned to all four.
All
isn't it?
four of the elements.
Again, that's really quite interesting. There is a fifth element, which we haven't illustrated so far in this set. So in some myths, the fifth element is the spirit, and rather than being on a compass, it's on a pentacle, so the 5 points.
That's right.
To the
So
spirit.
when they come together, they create the 5 points.
So, you know, that's sort of an add-on one, and I think maybe in future that might be really interesting to illustrate the spirit elemental wizard and
But that's the one
sorceress.
we're researching at the moment for the book.
Absolutely. So that's something for the future.
Yeah. So hopefully next year you come, we'll be selling the
Yeah,
book.
I think it's going to be an ongoing thing, and I'm really delighted that there is going to be in future a series of figurines around these elemental magic characters, which I'm really excited to see sculpts of those when they're done.
Yeah. So that's a little
Yes.
intro into Anne's elemental magic
And John's
also
wands, how we work
the
together.
wands.
So I
And
hope you
that's
found that interesting. Thank you very much for listening. Anybody who'd like to come up, ask us a question, or have your leaflet signed,
We'll do
we'll
that.
be here.
And we hope you kept cool under this
Yeah,
lovely,
absolutely. That was
lovely,
the air one.
lovely tent. Yes. I'll keep practicing.
Yeah, keep practicing, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.